Okay, about the functions that we have discussed, we discussed about the basic function and how to define a function using def keyword. Then we learn how to set the parameters. Parameters are basically inputs to the functions. We discussed that in last day. So what are the parameters and how can we integrate parameters? And also we identified how to set the default value to these parameters. Let me open this. Okay, here are some functions. So we learn how to set default values. You can see this SQ has 1 and 10 default values, 2 parameters, and both parameters are having default values. The advantage, if there are default value, the advantage is you can run the function. So here, the SQ function, you can run without any parameter. So then the default value will be taken. Then you can run with a single parameter. Let's say you want to start from 5. So then it will take the first parameter, and you can run this with 2 parameters as well. So let's say I want to start from 1 and I want to finish when reach. So after 10 attempts, I need to finish. You can see it's moving on. So that is the advantage, right? It provides us flexibility to give no parameters, also to set 1 parameter, also to set 2 parameters. So whenever the parameters are not set, it will take the default value. So that is the advantage of this. All right, then, so let's, okay, then we discuss about the recursive functions. So recursive functions are functions calling in itself. The function call within the function. So we call recursive function, also the returning function and non-returning function. Returning functions basically it returns a value. Non-returning functions sometimes called procedures. These non-returning functions of the procedures are not setting or not returning any value. So we call them procedure, right? Non-returning function. So we learn about that. Clearly, we learn about that. And now, so we know need to move to the next one. Yes, recursive function, and we learn how to set these Fibonacci factorial using the recursive functions. Please refer to the last day video in case if you cannot remember. All right. Then we have discussed about this list tuple dictionaries and all, even the sets. Then after that, we need to learn about file handling. I think we can start that topic today. Okay. So let's move to this topic, file handling. So there are multiple ways that you can save the things. When you feed something as input to Python, there are multiple ways to save that. The method number 1, that you can save something using a file. The method number 1, right, is basically you can save into a file. Method number 2, you can save into database. We need to learn both file and database. Actually, mostly in the examination, file concepts will be tested, but rarely database concepts will also be tested. That is rarely, right? So mostly the file concepts will be tested. Okay. So let's start learning about the file concepts today, right? So there are 2 types of files in computing, basically not in Python. In computing, there are 2 types of files. The first file type is known as text file. A text file is a file which has only letters, numbers, and readable symbols. Text files can be read using any text editor. So whatever given in Sinhala here is given in English as well, so don't worry. So only consider about the English medium. So text files are the files which has letters, numbers, and any readable character. Basically, you can open that using a text editor. Binary file, you can open that using a text editor, but it is unreadable. So basically shapes, graphics, pictures, graphs, music. If a file contain such thing like music, graphics, shapes, videos, some kind of illustrations, basically these illustration based files are put into the binary files. That means you can't open and read that using a text editor. Even Word files, Excel files are falling into binary files. The reason is in Word you have text, not just the text, you have shapes, tables, and many more other graphical components. Therefore, even the docx files, Excel files, PowerPoint files, PDFs fall in under the binary files. Okay, you can write down the examples also. I'll give it here. And these are the binary files. You should know these two categories, the text files and the binary files. Okay, so shall we write the heading file handling and also write down, write in the heading file handling, please write down there are two types of files. So please write down this part. There are two types of files. The number one is text file, number two is binary file. Then the examples or the extensions. These are actually the extension types available. Please write down that. Okay, next let's learn how can we open a file and how can we read a file and write a file. So in this lesson, so today's lesson, we are going to learn about that, how to read and how to write. So I would like to emphasize this. So there are some modes. First of all, you have to give the file path. So the file path can be given as a long path. So starting from the beginning, in your case, you can give the file path like C, users, desktop, like first, it's a very long path, right? That long path can be given, that is one method, or you can just give the file name if your file is located in the same folder or the relative path. This you already know, so I'm not going to explain that again and again. So file path should be given either in a relative way or absolute way. The file path should be given. Then the file mode. So open. So for reading or writing, you need to open the file. So for reading binary, you have to give RB. For read generally, you have to give R. Right? To read generally, you have to give R. This is an example. So you can write down the example also. Please write down this example also. And let's learn after that. So what are the file modes available? So let's learn that. So there are a few modes available. Read is read mode. Write is write. W is write mode. And it's another mode called A, append mode. Append is write into the end. Read is reading. Write is writing. Append is writing to the end. Okay, these are the file modes available. So let's do this. I'm going to create a new file. So we can write down the example while looking at this example. You can just write down. Okay, let's say I just want to open a file and let's say my file. I need to open the file and need to open, let's say hello world.txt. This is the file that I'm going to open. And so let's give one thing, only one parameter. When I give one parameter, file will be open for reading only. So let's save this as my file read.python and let's run this. So when I say hello world, text hello world txt, it's trying to open the file for read in only. So if I print my file, I print this, it says here, you can see its file mode is given as R, read mode. And so to do that, actually the hello world text should exist. It should be there. So I'm saving this in users, Dasun Nilanjana documents, my file read. So let's go to that. Let's go to users, documents. There, you can see there is, okay, let's sort by the name. Is there a file called hello world? Yeah, here, hello world.txt, that file is there. So let's delete that file. Let's delete it. I'm going to delete that file. Now the file is not there. Now I'm trying to read the file. So what will happen? It will give an error saying no such file or directory. You don't have such thing, it's given like that. When you are trying to read the file, read a file which is not exist, it will give an error. So this one parameter open function and this is same, right? Both works similarly. You can just give the name or you can give the name plus the letter R also. Still it's giving an error because the file doesn't exist. But when you try to write a file, if the file is not existing, what will happen? It will create the file. Okay, you can see. So what has happened? It has created the file here. It has created a new file. It's a plain text, a new one, but it has created. Also, in the append mode also, the file is not there. It will create the file. So that is there in write mode and append mode. But the read mode it won't. But write and append will create the file if it is not existing. Okay, before that you have to write down these examples. You can see either a full path can be given or a path like part of or just file name and extension in case of the relative reference. Okay, I'll write down here file path can be both absolute and relative. Absolute means the full path. Relative means related path to the Python file location. There are two parameters. So what are they? Path and mode. Mode is optional. When mode is not given, if the file is binary, need to use B with the mode. Example, you can say you can give that with the R mode. read in a binary file, you have to write the same, but the mode should be RB, read in binary. Please write down this. So let's do this now and let's test this. So here we have discussed about how to read the file and how reading happens. Next is we learned there are file types. Okay, these are the file modes. So this is very important. It's okay, so no need to write down, but just write down the 3 modes, right? So 3 modes means R, W, and A. Read, write, and append. Read, it's explanatory, right? So no need to write the mean, like what is this. So write is like, okay, that is also explanatory. And then append is adding to the end, right? And if B is given, that means binary. If plus is given, read, write, both options are enabled. Right. In addition to that, so there is one more point, that is A mode and W mode. W means write, A mode means append. Modes can create files if not exist. It can create file if not exist. Okay, all together these are the modes. So no need to write down the table. These are the all modes. No need to write the table, but just take a screenshot of table. Only R mode is giving error if the file is not available. Only R mode is giving error if file is not available. Okay. Okay, let's do the practical now. So please raise your hand if you're still writing, please raise your hand. If you're still writing, please raise your hand.
No, sir.
Done. Okay. So let's do a small practical to understand this now. So, okay. Now we know about the files. There are 2 kinds of file types, and also, so we have different file modes. We learn about them also. Now let's do the practical and understand this carefully. Okay, so I'm going to write small code here. The first thing is opening a file, and mode is, let's say mode is only read mode. And as you know, to read a file, there should be a file. Without a file, you can't read it. So before that, let's create a file. Let's write a file then. So let's write this file. I'm going to write a file called hello world.txt, and what I'm going to write there, my file.write, I'll write my name, Dasun Nilanjana. You can also try this with me. After writing, I'm closing the file, my file.close. It's very simple. Open the file, write something, close it. So let's run the code. When I run this code, okay, no results. You can see it's empty. But we can go and see the location, the users, Dasun Nilanjana document, my file, read.file, and the file name is hello world, right? You can go to the location, documents, document, and there should be, okay, here you can see hello world.txt. Let's open the file. When you open the file, you can see Dasun Nilanjana inside here. Hello world.txt. When you open it, you can see Dasun Nilanjana. So this is how you write a file. Okay, whatever you want to write, you can write line by line. So let's say, let's add more, right? My file.write Dasun Nilanjana. Then I'm going to write another thing, maybe A level ICT. And I'm going to write, let's say, Python lesson. Again, I'm going to write file reading and writing. Okay. So I have written 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. Let's run the file. When I run the file, no output, but still you can see when you go there and open this hello world.txt, which the file I have created, you can see everything is written to this. But one problem is there. What is that? Even though we wrote in 4 lines, so it is not given 4 lines. It's in only single line. How can we go to the next line? So can you remember that? We have learned this actually in one occurrence before. How can we go to the next line? Okay, in case if you cannot remember, you have to add a new line operator. New line operator is this, right? After finishing \n, it says new line. After finishing \n, after finishing \n, after finishing \n. So that will go to the new line. After writing this, it will go to the new line. Let's run this again, and you can see the same results. Go and open the file, and you can see this in 4 lines now. But n letter is not there, right? For \n is actually giving enter. It's for symbol for entering. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4 lines are there. Okay, this is the result. The result will be there in the same folder as your Python file. So kindly write down this in your book for file writing. So write the heading file writing, and then you can. So always when you write the file, remember that it's overwriting. It's overwriting the file. Right? When I write the file, it will overwrite the file. Right? Overwrite. Overwrite means it will write the file on top of the previous file. So no another new file will be created. Please write down. But the same thing if you append, append will add to the end. When I run this, it will run as usual. And when you open that, you can see now 8 lines. Why? Previously you had 4 lines, appended another 4 lines, altogether 8 lines. If I run this again, what will happen? If I run this again, what will happen? There will be 12 lines because there was 8 lines. 8 again, you can see another 4 added. Appending is adding to the end. Appending will not create a new file if the file is already there. So what it does, it's adding to the end of the file. So first write writing, then try the appending both. So I'll give you 5 minutes to try. Okay, let's do a small activity on this now. So we have learned how to read a file, how to write a file. So actually read can be done in basically 4 ways. So that is read everything, read line by line, read 1 line at a time, or read all the lines. Okay, let's say, okay, this file, I'm going to use the same file that we are having, and I'm going to read the file now. Method number 1 is reading everything. Method number 1 is reading everything. That can be done easily by, you can say, print. The file is my file dot read. Everything need to be printed. Okay, that is simple step. So this is read everything. Sometimes you want to do this when you read entire file. So you can see the file is read. Okay, it has 1, 2, 3, 4. You have 12 lines because you know you wrote that 12 lines before. So it's reading all 12 lines. Okay, you can get the length of this thing. Okay, see, get the length of object. What will happen? It's giving the number of characters in total, right? Okay, so anyway, so you can read or you can count the number of characters. That is possible with read. So the second thing is you can read line by line. So let's close the file, because if you want to read it again, so it is advisable to close the file. Why? Because file is already read and you are at the end of the file. Now if you try to read the file again, what will happen? So without closing that, if you try to read the file again, sorry, you read that file and you try to read it again, it won't give a result. Why? Now the file pointer at the end of the file, like after reading all the lines, it's at the end of the file. Now if you try to read, so read nothing, it reads nothing because you have finished the reading. So once read, it is advisable to close the file and open that again for the, if you want to read it again, so open that again. So let's read line by line. So that is easy. For line in file, or any variable you can tell, for line in file, you can say print that line. So let's run the second method and first method. Now the first method is reading the entire file, whereas the second method is trying to, it's not for line in my file. That is the variable that we have used. You can see it's reading line by line. The second method is reading line by line here, line by line. Why there are two spaces, additional space? The reason is the print will add space as well as each line has new line character, which is not visible, but that new line character is there. Therefore, it's adding two line space. What you can do to avoid that, you can just say print line and end with nothing. Then what will happen? It will only print the new line character. So print will not give to the next line, go to the next line. So you can read like this. So this is the second way of reading the file, line by line. The third way of reading the file is, let's open the file again, and I'm going to read the file this time, but I can read like this. My file dot read line. Okay, my file dot read. Let's print it. Print the result. And let's say you want to read 1, 2, 3 lines. You can mention my file dot read line, read line, read line, and to read 3 lines and stuff. Okay, assume that this code is not there. Let's say save it, and you can see it will read only. Sorry. You can see it's reading 3 lines, right? Printing it will add additional lines. So you can end it nothing to stop that. But anyway, it's reading 3 lines, controlled. You can only read one line at a time. That is the third method. The fourth method, method number 1, reading line by line, reading. Okay, then you can use the third method to limit the lines also. How? You can limit that. You can say for k in range, let's say 4, my file dot read line, then it will read only 4 lines. Okay, that is also possible, right? You can use a loop and read only 1 line at a time. So you can say it's reading 4 lines. Here, the first one, you can see it's reading 1, 2, 3 lines. The second one's reading 3 lines. Okay, sorry, not 4 lines, it's reading 3 lines. Why? So let's remove all these things, okay? Okay. Sorry, it's reading 4 lines. 0th line, first line, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's reading 4 lines, right? These 4 lines will be read. That means you can limit. You can limit. Here it's reading 3 lines, and the next one you're reading 4 lines. Here it is, it's reading 3 lines, 1, 2, 3. The next one is reading 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. Everything together. Okay, let's practice this. Okay, let's practice and write down this. Let's practice and write down this. We have to learn some more. Okay, so now, right, we learn the basics of file reading, writing, and also we learn this, how we have done the activity, basically reading. The next, the final is like, you can read line by line, we learn that. So one more method we need to learn, that is read lines method. Read lines method, basically reading everything into a list. Right? We know what is a list, right? So let's say you don't want to print, if you can read lines and print it. Just let's see. So then it's easy to understand what is happening. Let's save this and run. You can see everything is read and written to a list. How list items are separated, you can see by the line separator. So it's separating line by line separator. So it's read into a list. So if you ask, okay, what is the length of this now? After read lines, it will tell the number of lines, right? It will tell the number of lines. Run it and you can see 12 lines. That's what we counted, right? So there are 12 lines. So 12 items in this list. So when you read this, you can save this to maybe my list. Let's say my list equal after read lines, you assign it to my list. And then you can print the length of my list. So that is the number of lines. You can say the file has comma lines. So when I run this, it says file has 12 lines. Okay, file has 12 lines. And now it is in a list. Therefore, I can access the list items. If you want, I can print my list. The 0th item is the first line. If you want to print the last line, you can say my list. This should be length of my list. That means 12 minus 1. So that will be the last line. So 1, because starting from 0, no 0th index. So it's printing printing the first line and the last line, right? Still, right? Okay, sorry. The first line, 0th line is this one. Has 12 lines. Dasun Nilanjana is the first, then file reading and writing, that is the last line. So it's reading the first line. So I'm commenting here, read first line. last line. Here actually number of lines. Okay. That is mentioned here, right? How to get that and how to print the number of lines. And so please write down that as well. So please write down this part also. No need to write down the notes, so you can just write down this part. So this is the fourth method that we are going to learn. When you insert that into list, it's very easy. You can do a lot of tasks like sorting. You can search, sort, can do many things, keeping in that list. Okay, at the same time, I would like to give you a question, Pute. So please write down this question. Same time, you can focus and write down this question. And there's a homework too. That is the assignment. Assignment is the homework, right? That is the homework. But before doing that, let's do the first one. Let's do the first one. After that, the assignment is the homework that you can do later. First, let's do this task. Right. Activity, input marks of 10 students for 3 subjects, Maths, English, and ICT, and calculate the total average. Each student store all the information, including the student need to CSV file separate. Each item is in command. Each student record using a new line. So you can give, you have, there is example given. So what you have to do. So let's take a new file and I'm going to write this now. So the first thing is basically, just give me a second. Hello. Okay, then, so let's write down. The first thing is getting these marks. So you have to get that as input, right? So you can say maths equal integer input. Maths equal integer input. Enter maths marks. Similar to that, you can get the science and English marks. Oh, you have English or English and ICT, right? Maths, English, and ICT marks, you are going to get that. And 10 students, you have to get that from 10 students, means you can say 4K in range. You can mention 10 times, you have to get that. Write in headings, you have to do only one time, so you can just open a file. Let's say my file equal open. The file name is marks.csv. And the file need to be open for writing. So initially you can write the heading. The heading will be, so these are the headings, you can just copy this. Okay, you have to write, but I'm going to copy, right? You can just write it. So these are the things that I'm going to write. And after that, a new line should come. Okay, then getting this and finding the total can be found by adding maths to English to ICT. On the total average can be calculated by dividing the total by 3. And finally, you have to write this, my file dot write. What you're going to write, initially you're going to write str, the maths mark. After that, a comma. After that, str English marks. After that, a comma again. After that, so keep adding str ICT marks. After that, a comma. After that, what is the student name should also be there. I forgot that ST name. And then a comma. Actually, you need to obtain the student name too. Then after that, the maths, English IT, maths, English ICT marks, and the total mark plus str, the total mark plus the comma plus str average marks, total comma average. After that, a new line. Okay, I hope everything's done right. After writing that, so this need to be written 10 times. After that, you can close this at the end of the file. So this is the activity that I said. So let's run the file and see, Pute. So this is just very small, rough one. Let's say al jan29.py. Okay, first of all, I couldn't write one thing. The name is not there. I have to obtain the name also here. St name equal input enter your name. Okay, let's run this now. I hope now it's okay. Enter your name, Dasun. Enter in the marks. Enter the second name, let's say Dasun. Some marks. Enter the third name, some marks. Enter another name. Six, 7 names. Okay, still I have to write 10, right? Okay, 10 marks, done. Right, it has taken 10 marks. Let's go and see where's the CSV. What is the CSV name? Marks.csv. The advantage of this CSV is you can open this using a text editor and you can see the comma delimited or comma separated values. That is one thing. You can get this as a comma separated value. The another thing is you can open this even using Excel. When you open this using Excel or numbers or any spreadsheet software, the comma separated values or the CSV will be mapped to cells in the spreadsheet. You can see. So the names are there, the headings are there, then the marks, total, and the average, everything calculated, and everything is in a table. That is the advantage. This is a text file, the special text file. This special text file can be opened even using Excel. So CSV is a text file, comma separated version, comma separated values. Can be opened using Notepad or can be opened using the text, that Excel spreadsheet or any other spreadsheet application. I want you to try this, Pute, and also complete the question. There are some other activities where you need to think and do. So create Python programs to add records. You need another program to add more records, to search records and delete records. Right, let's do that next day. Okay, please take a screenshot of this. Oh, I'll send it to the chat to you to practice. Please practice this. Don't just do this in the book. Practice in your computer, Pute. Otherwise, you won't learn properly. Just practice in your computer. And next day, I'll be discussing the homework, which is the assignment. And if you need the assignment, this is it. I have pasted that into the chat as well. Okay, then I'll stop from here. There. See you all next week. Good night. Just copy it and try to do that.
Thank you.
This is the code in case if you need to take a screenshot of that.